In today's video, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to get better construction project videos using an iPhone. Now make sure you watch till the end to get a bonus tip. What's up? My name is Brian and I'm a digital marketer and videographer that helps contractors and home service providers scale their businesses using what I call the digital trifecta. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications to get more tips just like this one. So let's get into the video. Tip number 1 is to make sure that you shoot both vertical and horizontal video. Now, in today's world of TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram Reels, a lot of people are only shooting vertical video, which is fantastic, but you want to make sure you get the same type of video using your horizontal format because you never know when you're going to want that extra video on the sides. Tip number 2 is to make sure that you shoot your videos in 4K. The reason why you want to shoot in 4K is because if you do shoot that horizontal video, you're going to actually be able to crop it down so you can still have the vertical video and still keep all of that data and still going to look super crispy when you upload it in a vertical format. Make sure that you shoot in 4K because most social media platforms actually compress the video down to make it easier to watch for the user, and so that's going to change the quality of the video. So uploading a higher quality video is going to make sure that you have that crispy, good looking video on the end result for the user. Tip number 2 is to shoot in 4K. Now, the reason why you want to shoot in 4K is if you shoot horizontally, you can still crop it down so that it's in a vertical format and still be able to keep that crispy look of a high quality video. Also, shooting in 4K is important because in today's social media platforms, they actually compress the video down and you lose a lot of that quality. So uploading the highest quality version of your video is going to give you the best results for your audience when they're watching the video on their end. And if you're an iPhone user, here's how you actually get to the menu to make sure that you're shooting in 4K. You'll open your phone, you'll go to settings, and then you're going to go to the camera option and you're going to look for record video. And as you can see, you have a couple different options here. You have 720 HD at 30 frames per second. You have 1080p HD at 30 frames per second, 1080p HD at 60 frames per second, and then we get into the 4K options. And you have 4K at 24 frames per second, 4K at 30 frames per second, and 4K at 60 frames per second. Just make sure one of those 4K options are chosen and we'll move from there. Tip number 3 is to make sure you're using the right frame rate or frames per second for what you're trying to take a video of. If you're taking a video of a person talking or any type of normal movement, shooting in 24 frames per second is perfectly fine, specifically if you're interviewing somebody. But if you're shooting events or things that are happening, sports, or at a construction project, you're shooting somebody swinging a hammer or using a saw, shoot in 60 frames per second 4K. And the reason why you want to do that is it's because it's going to make it much smoother and you're not going to have, it's going to reduce a lot of the jitters that you're going to get. And you're also going to be able to slow it down if you put it into an editing software program. If you just post it to social media, it's going to look real buttery smooth if you're shooting in 60 frames per second. I like to shoot most of my videos in 60 frames per second, unless I'm doing talking head or I'm doing interviews, then I'll shoot it in 24 frames per second. But I really love that 60 frames per second frame rate because it makes things really smooth and I'm able to slow it down and give that real cinematic look. And here's a pro tip. If you open your camera and you go to the video option, you can actually change the frame rate in the top right hand corner. See how here it says 30? If you click it, it'll go to 60, and if we click it again, it'll go to 24. So I like to keep it at 60 for most of my shooting, but you can change it to whatever you want. The most important part of shooting in 4K, using that 60 frames per second, you're going to really notice an increase in the quality and the steadiness of your videos. Tip number 4 is to turn on the grid lines. The reason why you want to do this is because if you're trying to shoot cinematic videos or you're trying to get better at composition, you can actually see where everything's going to be placed in the frame when you're using your camera. It's very helpful when you're doing it in horizontal format because if you're going to use that eye line, you really want things to kind of be on a corner of the grid on one side or the other and not really always dead straight in the middle. It's going to give you a better overall look and you're going to get kind of a better feel for what's in your frame. Tip number 5 isn't really a setting, it's more of a tip on how to shoot the video. if you're going to be going handheld with your phone, you want to keep the phone as close to your body as possible. The reason why you want to do this is going to help reduce a lot of the jitters. If you keep the phone really way out here, you can see that my hands are starting to shake a little bit because I'm trying to hold the weight of my arms. My shoulders might be a little bit sore or whatever. So keeping it close to the body and moving with your body, moving the phone with your body is going to give you better video. Another thing is, make sure that if you're shooting horizontally, you're using two hands. You want to make sure you use two hands, keep the camera really close and not touching your body, but as close as you can. Another tip is that you can use a tripod or a monopod like I use, or you can use a gimbal, and that's going to give you really smooth video. Using a tripod is great if you're going to be doing any type of hyperlapse or time lapse, because you're going to make sure that that camera is in the same spot every time. Now, I promised you a bonus tip if you watch till the end of the video, and here it is. You should be shooting for what you want your video to look like. We call it shooting for the edit. Think about what you want the end result to look like. Shoot your video for that. If you get away from just going around your project and shooting, look at this, if you get away from that and you actually think about, hey, what do I want my users or my audience to see? What do I want that people on the other end on their phones to see when I'm shooting something? If you think about what that is and you get over the fact that you're just showing an overall view and you get into the trenches with your phone and you start to get higher quality videos, you're going to see that not only does your view count go up, but so does your engagement rate. People are going to like your video more, they're going to comment on it, because you're being intentional about why you're shooting your video, who you're shooting your video for, and how you're shooting your video. So that's it. That's the 5 tips for getting better construction project videos using an iPhone. And for those of you that are interested in learning more about the professional equipment, tripods, microphones, any of that stuff that I personally use when I go out to construction sites for my clients, you can find all of those in links below under my equipment that I use. And full disclosure, if you buy anything using one of those links, I do make a small commission on those purchases. And again, if you found value in this video, make sure that you subscribe, you turn on notifications for more tips and more videos just like this one. I hope you have a great day. Get out there and shoot. Get out there and create your own videos starting today. Deuces.